If you want to paint a room with high ceilings, more specifically a garage, and you don't want to pay a professional to paint, then you want to watch this video. Hi, I'm John Would You Do It, and I'm a DIY content creator. My mission is to create content that will educate and empower you to do things that you may not know you were capable of doing before visiting my channel. I've done nearly all projects on my own without hiring a contractor since owning our first home in the 90s. So I'm using Home Depot's Bare Premium Plus Flat Perfect Taupe. This is a color that is somewhat on the neutral side, although it is a little dark. You may want to consider a lighter color if that's something that you favor. But it is a color that comes out rather well. I'll be sharing my tips with you for painting a large room. You definitely want to wear worn out clothes or clothes you don't much care about because you're going to get paint on them. You can see here I got paint on my back. It's just going to happen. You're going to touch the wall, you're going to grab the brush, you're going to hit yourself with the brush, the paint roller, you're going to splash. Definitely don't wear your good shoes either. Blocking in is a technique that you'll want to use to fill in the areas where a paint roller cannot get. So you can see here I'm blocking in with the paintbrush in the corners. I highly suggest a paint cup. I'm not using a paint cup here. The purpose of a paint cup is to hold a small amount of paint that you can hold in one hand while dipping the paintbrush in that paint cup with your other hand and then painting with it. And you can see here I'm going up and down the ladder probably 90 times just to paint this small area above the door. You also want to get a pouring paint can lid. Now, there have been several products that have been released on the market. I'm a big fan of the Shur-Line paint lid. It's a silicone-based paint lid that secures to the top of the paint can, and it has an air vent that you can pop open when you're pouring, and essentially a funnel. And the advantage is that when you pour the paint from a can that has this lid on it, the amount of drips or drippage, if you will, is very minimal. The next tip is that if you're able to paint the ceiling the same color, you're going to save a lot of time. In this case, I'm painting the garage. The paint color I chose is slightly on the dark side, but I didn't much care. But traditionally, you would have the ceiling be painted a brighter color, typically white, but it doesn't have to be white. You would almost certainly want the ceiling painted a brighter color for reflection of light and to help bring out the color of the walls. In this case, I painted the entire room, the garage, this color. And the reason why I did that, two reasons. It made the job easier because I only had to block in the color on both the ceiling and the walls. I didn't have to worry about cutting in. So the difference is cutting in is when you're trying to paint a straight line at the intersection between a wall of one color and a ceiling of another color, or between the corner of a wall that's one color and a different color. So the other reason was that this darker color would not show up dirt as much. You'll definitely want to use a multi-purpose ladder. Using a traditional A-frame ladder or an extension ladder is possible, but I definitely like the multi-purpose ladder because I'm able to quickly configure, and you can see here I'm using that multi-purpose ladder in a step ladder on steps. Now it's not obvious that it's on steps, but it is. The one leg is extended more than the other, and it's extended in such a way that the furthest facing point of the ladder is parallel to the wall. So I'm able to get in closer to the wall while maintaining safety. The multi-purpose ladder can be configured, like I said, as an extension ladder, a stairway step ladder, which is the way I'm using it here, or a twin step ladder. And it can also operate as a scaffold, so you can take this ladder apart into two sections and you can use a pick between the two ladders that will let you paint in a larger area widthwise. Now, speaking of scaffolding, I really like the rolling scaffold that I have here. This is a Werner rolling scaffold. It's 4 foot by 3.5 feet. It has multiple configurations for the top. You can see here I have the 2 different sections installed, but because I have it up so high, I'm not able to get onto the scaffolding without using a ladder. So I have to use an A-frame ladder, step on that first to get up to the height that I can get onto the scaffolding. The advantage of the rolling scaffolding is I'm able to roll that around and quickly move to the next section of the wall that I'm blocking in. Now, I won't need to use that when I'm painting with a roller, because with a roller, that'll be my next tip, which is to use an extension handle for your paint roller. So by using an extension handle, you are extending the reach of your paint roller so that you're able to reach it from the ground level without having to get on a ladder. The only disadvantage is that you'll have a long handle to navigate around when you're putting it into the paint tray to fill up the roller cover, which that's what it's called. It's called a roller cover, a paint roller cover. So you fill that up, and I typically use a 3/8 inch nap, but depending upon your surface, you may need to use a different size. And then I'll use that to paint the walls and the ceiling. And because it's the same color, it's rather easy for me to do both. Speaking of paint tray, I like to use paint tray liners. This makes cleanup a lot easier because you would normally have a paint tray with the paint in it, and the paint would dry, and it would make the paint tray less deep, because each time you get another layer of paint on there that dries up, and you really don't want to clean it up. So I like using the paint tray liners. And then, if depending upon how long the paint sits, if it sits long enough to cure, I will use the paint tray liners again multiple times, even if it's with a different color. But if it's too soon, the paint could be a little tacky, and I might pick up what's called paint boogers, and then you have a big problem where you're using paint that is good paint, but you mixed it in with semi-coagulated paint, and now you get these paint boogers on the wall. And unless if you have a textured wall, these are going to look horrible. I like using a drop cloth around my work area. Now, this is a garage, but I want you to consider something. So, yes, it's a garage and I'm painting, but what if I got a drip? Okay, not such a big deal, but what if I got a big splash of paint on the floor? I could possibly clean it up. It's going to take me more time to clean it up, but why go through that when you can use a drop cloth? You may say it's a garage, I don't care. Well, what if you want to finish that garage floor later with a nice epoxy finish or some type of sealant, and you want the garage floor to look pristine? It's not going to look that way because you just got paint on it. So save yourself some time, and definitely use a drop cloth. And one additional thing I like to use with the drop cloth is cardboard. So I don't line all of the drop cloth with cardboard. Instead, I will use like a 3 foot by 3 foot piece of cardboard under my paint tray, and that'll also hold my paint can, so that when I'm pouring paint into the paint tray, there's going to be some drips that are going to occur, maybe a spill. I'm not careful, I could overflow. The piece of cardboard would be the first line of defense between the paint being spilled and the drop cloth. And now for my bonus tip. So you just finished painting the garage. It looks great, but something that's usually overlooked is window treatments. So you'll definitely want to consider adding curtains or blinds, some sort of window treatment that'll make the place look good. In this case, I purchased curtain rods and some panels from Target, installed them pretty quickly. You can see the link to this video in this card here.